Hey guys, King of Charmander's here. Alright, today I'll be your judge, jury, and your analyst for Ultra Premier's ABB teams. So, as you don't know, they didn't just, the Ultra Premier Cup rankings were updated, and as you see here, I'm not going to go over them too. I already did the top 5 Premier video, so the ABB one's going to go a little quickly, because ABB teams are still really good, but there's only one that really stands out above the rest. As you see here, Scrafty, Alola Knight, basically, XLs dominate, okay? XLs do very, very well for Ultra Premier. As you see here, the top 5 teams, if you look at it from first glance, there's not a lot of ABB combinations, as you see here. So, I will give to you, since these videos are very popular, the best and most effective ABB teams in Ultra Premier Cup. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, for team number 5, whoever has an Alolan Sandslash? I am very, give me 5 seconds as while I do analysis and look up Alolan Sandslash at the same time. Because my brain is just kind of like dumbfounded, like, wait, what? An Alolan Sandslash? I was like, wait, what? Like, when I first looked at it, like, when I was actually analyzing this team, I was just like, wait a minute. What is that? Is that a Sandslash? I'm like, what? I'm like, that's a thing at 2,500? And I'm like, don't you need XL? And yes, you do. You need an XL Alolan Sandslash. Wow, that's a lot of that's a lot of Stardust. Yeah, it's very strange. Anyways, this features Alolan Sandslash XL with Gyarados and Kingdra. So, ice and double water using the Kingdra safe switch engine. And yeah, I'm trying to like sound a lot more excited than I am, but I'm actually not that excited. Anyways, as you see here, this seems pretty generic. Double Dragon Breath with a Alolan Sandslash in front. I think Alolan Sandslash is there to cover the grass typing, and then you have the double dragons in the back because of double water. But technically, both of your back row isn't even weak to grass anyways, in a sense, because the thing about it is that both of your back row is grass does neutral damage. So yeah. It's very interesting, to say the least. But, yes, I did take a look at it, and this is an XL Alolan Sandslash. Mind you, or, not really, well, you need a good IV one for XL, so I wouldn't really recommend it. Anyways, enough of me babbling about this. The reason why I'm really confused is because, at first glance, this has terrible coverage, horrible bulk and safety, and, like, average and good consistency. Basically, it's gonna do a lot of damage, but it's very weird. By the way, I forgot to mention that this team actually went negative as far as the rankings go. It's minus 500, so I actually don't recommend this one. It stands at a 4, let me double check. I think it's like 400 something. 400. Oh wow, it's actually 400. Hold on, I apologize. Let me find it. I'm looking for it. It actually stands at, what is it? I'm sorry. It's below 500, okay? Otherwise, it's not a great team to run. I'm not entirely sure why this is being run, but as you see here in the front, if you get a fighter, if you get a fire or if you get Talon Frame in the front, it's really bad. Yes, your back row does cover, but Alolan Sandslash doesn't really cover anything that's super vital, in my opinion. If you look at your weaknesses, it has a super high threat score. Galarian, Stunfisk XL, and Machamp can run through this entire team, essentially. And Umbreon XL does have a very strong matchup against all 3 of these. If you lose the lead, you safe switch into Kingdra, of course, as usual. But this team's pretty much designed to, I believe, try and take out the Double Dragon team. But even then, Alolan Sandslash and Empoleon don't like tangoing with each other. So it's very interesting. I mean, Alolan Sandslash technically hardballs Empoleon, but still, like, it's okay. But the fact that you need an XL Alolan Sandslash, I don't really recommend this team. Especially since it did go negative, so I don't recommend it at all. But anyways, this is number 5. Alright, team number 4 is Dragonite, Empoleon, Kingdra. What is up with this double water combination? Anyways, you know what? This is basically the Empoleon double dragon team. All this person's doing is really putting a Dragonite in front of these two, which actually happens to work. this uses Kingdra Safe Switch. This basically just reorders the Empoleon Double Dragon team. That's all it really does. And it's still the same stats. Terrible coverage just because Double Dragon Breath users aren't exactly the greatest things in the world. Not great bulk. It's not super safe either. Kingdra Safe Switch is really, well, it should be up just because Kingdra Safe Switch, but it's going to do a lot of damage. As you see here, this basically just, like I said, this just reorders Dragonite. It doesn't do much of anything special, but it just switches the pattern. Same team essentially with the same weaknesses at a very high threat score. Putting Dragonite in the front does make you weak to Galarian Stunfisk, like things like Galarian Stunfisk and Abomasnow. Normally, Empoleon being in the front is much better just because of its steel typing and its ability to take out like things like Talonflame, Galarian Stunfisk, and essentially like force Abomasnow to straight Energy Ball. But as you see here, this team isn't, I've gone over this team before. It's okay, though. This team actually does pretty well. Compared to the last one, it does go positive. At a rank of actually barely positive. A lot of people, well, yeah, actually, did it go barely positive? It's like, no, actually, it's slightly better. So the Empoleon Dragonite team actually went to 509, so this one, it just barely goes above positive. In other words, putting Dragonite in the front somehow makes this team a little better. But do I recommend it? Not really. Again, it's Dragonite, Empoleon with Kingdra Safe Switch, which is basically, I mean, it's still good, but like, it's like you just reorder the lead and that's pretty much it. Team number 3 is actually very interesting. It has Talonflame Double Grass. I think I saw this team on the last time it came out, but it's basically Talonflame with double starter in the back, which is actually very interesting. Like, I think this team is very cool just because of, you can break shields with Talonflame, that's why I like it as a lead. Chestnut, I'm assuming Chestnut is your safe switch, but the thing about it is, and what makes this team interesting, it's a Smackdown Chestnut. So basically, like, I guess this team kind of makes it so your opponent gets fooled and throws their Talonflame into Chestnuts? Does that actually work? I don't know, but whoever made that crazy strategy, it is a Smackdown Chestnut. Mind you, with a Smackdown Chestnut, you're really, like, it's gonna take a little bit before you get to Energy Ball or Superpower. So that's why when I looked at the moveset, I was like, wait, what? Venusaur in the back is incredibly powerful as usual. As you see, this team is good coverage, sad bulk and safety just because of Chestnut, but it does consistent damage. This team pretty much targets Galarian Stunfisk, as you see here. This team also does very well against Swamp. Well, actually, it's very, I don't think, so when you have when Chestnut has Smackdown, Swampert resists like everything though, so it's very interesting. It does beat down Ice types, as you see here. But this team gives Abomasnow a hard time, and it also gives Abomasnow a hard time, gives Bug types a hard time. It also, yes, it does. So Chestnut beats Talonflame with Smackdown. That's pretty nuts. Chestnut can still beat Politoed with Smackdown as long as Politoed doesn't have Blizzard, or as long as you don't get hit by a Blizzard. So it's, again, very interesting team with a Smackdown Chestnut in the middle. With Smackdown Chestnut, like, you actually, like, this is a very, like, it's a very interesting team. Altaria still loves you, though, so Altaria and Talonflame, assuming that Talonflame is in the back, it's still not a comfortable thing to see a Talonflame, just because Talonflame can melt Venusaur, and if we look at the actual, like, if you look at the actual like, let's take a look real quick, just for this team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Chestnut with Smackdown, and then we're going to put Talonflame and just see exactly how you beat it, because this is probably the main purpose of this Pokemon. And I've seen it all. Okay, so Smackdown Chestnut beats it actually beats Talonflame in every shield scenario, unless you have shield advantage, or if it's in the zeros. So Chestnut actually beats Talonflame in most scenarios, straight Smackdown. So I guess that's the key reason why you have Smackdown. Very interesting strategy. So whoever invented this team, you're a madman. But it actually does go positive. It has a 518 rating, so it does go positive. Very, very interesting team. The only problem is like I said, like, it does have a high threat score, and also your back row is kind of weak to Gengar, or like poison types in general, just because poison types are strong against Chestnut as well as Venusaur, so just keep that in mind. However, this team is very interesting, and like I said, Chestnut is like a secret weapon, so I can see this team actually working very well. Alright, and team number... Man, you guys really like this flaming chicken. Anyways, you have Thanksgiving, Forearm Goro, and... a bird that uses a leak for a sword. That thing better be sharp enough. Anyways, it's pretty dang sharp, because you know why? Talonflame, Machamp, and Surface is actually the number 2 most powerful, and this team stands at 520 something, so it's actually a lot higher than the other 3, so statistically it's really freaking good. The only concern I have with it is your back row is very weak to confusion, so yeah! Beware of the confusion. As you see, good coverage, terrible bulk, just because Machamp and Surface aren't exactly the bulkiest things in the world. It's somewhat safe, although if you see something like a Swampert, I think Machamp is your safe switch. And then it does consistent damage. Again, with Machamp as your safe switch, it kind of is iffy, because if your opponent has Charm, you're kind of dead. But as you see here, this team actually does somewhat well against the meta. If your opponent has an Umbreon in the back, it's pretty much gonna get punched to death. Scrafty also gets destroyed, as well as other ice types. And even Alola Ninetales doesn't do very well against Machamp just because of the Rock Slide. And of course, Surfetch'd does have Leaf Blade. This does have Brave Bird Surfetch, so it does it has nuke potential. And Leaf Blade takes out the Mudboys and Swampert. But as you see here, this team is very, very interesting. With Jellicent essentially... well, I guess that's why you have Burb. So if you lose hard against something like Jellicent, you could probably Leaf Blade it to death with Surfetch, but you do have the Burb option. So Dragonite, what I don't like is Dragonite gives this team a very hard time. The Empoleon Double Dragon team, the Empoleon Double Dragon team, you kinda hate this team if you're in the Empoleon Double Dragon team. Because you're gonna safe switch into Machamp, they could safe switch into Kingdra, or the Dragonite in the back, which would just 2-shield its way through Machamp. Then after you 2-shield your way through Machamp, then you have a Dragon Breath user and Empoleon against Surfetch. So Kingdra against Surfetch, and then Talonflame would just get deleted by Empoleon. So yeah, it's a very interesting team, but it does very well. As you see, it is pretty decent. However, Water Leads, which is your basic, like, giant weakness here, is basically going to give you a hard time. Swampert also beats Talonflame in the 2-shield, so even though in the potential threats above for the meta, it does say it beats it, but Talonflame only beats Swampert if you kill out Brave Bird, so it's still not a comfortable matchup, etc. But this team does very, very well against its weakness. It's very ballsy, because anything where you have to Brave Bird through shield or depend on Brave Bird with Surfetch, or try to Rock Slide something with Machamp, you're being very ballsy, because, yeah, it's very, very ballsy. So, very high threat score. Again, this team is very, very interesting, because essentially a Charmer will annihilate your back row. So, if they have a Charm in the back, it's almost practically an auto loss unless you have shield advantage or energy advantage. Or they just don't shield your big move, which is like Brave. If they burp through shields, you're going to run them over with the Suburban, and hopefully they don't shield it. Alright, now the most powerful team. This team's actually very strong as far as ABB goes. It is Abomasnow, Gyarados, and Kingdra is the 3rd most powerful team. If you looked it over, I went over it. It's actually in the top 5 as far as ABB teams go, or just as well. I mean, not just ABB, I mean overall. So it's the number 3 most powerful team in Ultra Premier as far as Part 3 goes. It's actually really strong. So as you see here, it has a 545 rating as the number 3. So that means it's really freaking good. So Abomasnow, Gyarados, Kingdra. So Kingdra safe switch, Gyarados as your Gyarados. I guess you could close out with Gyarados as well, depending on like what you see. Kingdra, well, actually Kingdra's your safe switch just because Kingdra Octazooka is very strong. Then you have Abomasnow XL, which just weather balls everything to death. So this team basically beats the Empoleon double dragon team in a sense. It's very, very weird. Anyways, this team is very, very strong. As you see, it has terrible coverage, but Double Dragon has terrible coverage, but it does a consistent amount of damage, good safety. And I think, like I mentioned before in my other video, this should technically have an A for safety, especially if you get the well, technically, if you have a debuff. So if you get the debuff, you can flip a lot of matches. Not a lot of bulk, though. It is pretty, like, Abomasnow XL can take a few hits. However, Gyarados and Kingdra cannot. As you see here, this team really Swampert really hates this team. Swampert has an absolute nightmare against this entire team. So this team I see a lot of Swamperts, like, from my friends playing and everything like that. Or, like, other people's streams. So, like, if this team is basically kill Swampert. So, I do approve of it, though. Like, if you could catch Swampert if you catch Swampert in any position, this team is very tailor-made to kill it. Pretty dang hard, too. Alolan Ninetales does give you a little bit of a hard time, especially if it's in the back row. However, it's a super, like, this team is very, very interesting. But basically, any Charmer in the back with double Dragon Breath users is going to give you a very, very hard time. You could, this team it uses Aqua Tail and Crunch. It doesn't use Hydro Pump Gyarados, so you can try to use Hydro Pump, but generally Gyarados is still really good. But this team is super powerful. It has a very high threat score, but every double Dragon team has a super high threat score, because essentially if you see a Charmer in the back, or if you see a fairy type, well, basically Charmers in the back, it kind of sucks. Also, there's a lot of things that can beat this entire team in multiple scenarios. So it's a very risky team. You can use it, but wow, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a really good team, don't get me wrong. I really think it's really good, especially, like I said, with popularity of Swampert. Target Swampert, kill Swampert. That's basically what it is with this team. But this Obama Snow does put a lot of pressure on your opponent. And with double Dragon Breath users, even though they have an F for coverage, double Dragon is really, really strong, because multiple teams have been using it to make Legend or just climb the rankings. So if you really want to try this team out, again, it is the #3 most powerful team in Ultra Premier, and I think it will do very, very well. You might have seen this variation, because I think I saw this variation twice in one day when I was watching someone else, when I was watching one of my friends battle. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting team. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So, Goodra is powerful for the Retro Cup. Just keep in mind that Altaria does beat it. With Altaria Community Day coming out, your Goodra will have a little bit of a tough time. But like I mentioned, Goodra is a very interesting mon, because if you did watch this video, then you know something a lot of people probably won't know, and that's that you beat Frostus in the 2-Shield and some other Ice-type Pokemon, etc. So, Goodra is really, really good. In that sense, you can kind of use it to fool your opponent. For example, you say switch Goodra and they say switch for Frostus into you. You beat Frostus in 2-Shield, straight Muddy Water. And they don't know that, so it kind of sucks for them. But it's because of Goodra's high defense that it's able to do that. The big if about Goodra is that you lose against Altaria if Altaria has no chip damage. So if Altaria is chipped away and you're at full HP, you can take out Altaria. So in order for you to beat Altaria, you need to have Altaria, like, it just needs chip damage. But in an even scenario, you will lose against Altaria, or it will be a simultaneous knockout depending if you get the debuff on Muddy Water or not. But that's what makes Goodra really interesting. It can flip some of its matchups using Muddy Water and getting the debuff. I wouldn't bank on it. 30% isn't 100%, but you know what? It's still a lot more than anything else has. But again, Goodra is really fun. I think it would be fun to use, and like I said, because of the fact that it does beat certain ice types in this meta, you might want to consider using one. Or if you really like it and you really want to use it, yeah. But that's probably something I will do. Like, when Retro Cup comes out, I'll probably throw Goodra into battle, and then I'll see what it does. And then I'm going to try to use that strategy, basically. But again, like, if Altaria is, in a sense, overall, Altaria is the better investment, per se. But that doesn't mean Goodra isn't useless. Altaria, the only reason that what really limits Goodra is just the fact that it loses to Altaria in most scenarios. You can still beat it, but Altaria needs chip damage. But if you really like Goodra and you really want to try it out, it's actually really, as you saw here, it's really freaking good for the Retro Cup. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. I will do videos like this all the time where I analyze stuff, and Goodra is, Goodra's been mad hyped right now, and it's actually really good for the Retro Cup. So, if you want to use it, I don't see why not. Just make sure you look over your matchups again. Again, you do beat certain ice types, but just make sure, you do your research. And hopefully you got a good Goodra. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.